Welcome to the GTN show.
Welcome. On today's show, proof that women are just better at ultra endurance than men.
And there's a new triathlon bike from Van Rysel and a new bike computer from Wahoo.
Plus, calls for stricter controls on cyclists sucking on exhaust fumes. All right, starting as we always do with some reacts, but before we do, you may have noticed we're in a new set. We're still dressing it and making it look pretty. If there's something particular you think we should decorate it with, let us know in the comments down below. Also note, we're on 985,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that bell icon and subscribe to our channel. It does support the channel and we'd love to get to 1 million this year if we can.
Yeah, and I think maybe some suggestions as well of what we should do to celebrate that 1 million, because it is going to happen and it's not that far away. So yeah, again, get in the comments section below. But for now, it's time to move on with reacts. And Joe Skipper has been busy. We talked about Hyrox quite a few times on the show, but it was the London event the weekend just gone. Now, previously he competed in the pro section, which he found too hard. It's heavier weights. Basically, it's like just everything is a bit harder. So he's gone for the age group, or the sort of, I think the entry level, so to speak, and obviously went much faster, 26 minutes faster, in fact. So yeah, I think he might be focusing back to triathlon.
Massive improvement, but yeah, clearly just an off-season activity. I don't think he's actually going pro. And yeah, the pro level, the pro weights are crazy. It's like 32 kg.
I mean, just imagine holding that even.
I'm not sure I can lift it, never mind carry it. So he has also been busy though. He ran a 10K last week, a PB. He said he was going for under 32 minutes and he ran 31:56, which is fast. Pretty impressive, pretty fast. Also, for an off-season activity.
And in the wind, well, I guess running in the cold is in theory good, but puts me off.
But still off-season activity. Impressive.
This next one we spotted from Lionel. It was about a week ago, but he is sadly not competing at 70.3 Worlds. I mean, it was debated anyway, because he was deciding, apparently, and letting his viewers sort of help him decide whether to do 70.3 Worlds in New Zealand in 2 weeks' time, or to do 70.3 Indian Wells, which is obviously closer to home for him. And he's had a crash on his bike, so he's no longer doing either. I mean, I guess that's the dilemma solved.
Yeah, I guess it is.
But
he said he's going to rest and recover. Yeah, not the way you want to end the season, but rest and recover and get ready for a big 2025. We hope to see him, back to his best next year. There was also, it's kind of award season, although there isn't really many triathlon awards. There is the Sailfish Knight of the Year, which is kind of the global German triathlon awards. Can we call it that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of apt as both the the Ironman world champions are German as well. I mean, it's going to be a pretty big. We'll let them take it, won't we? It was good to see that Daniela Ryf actually got awarded a lifetime achievement. I mean, I think that one wouldn't have been too hard to debate, would it? Yeah, exactly. That was actually awarded to her from Natasha Badman, and she's just saying she was incredibly honoured. I think Laura Philipp was also on stage presenting that award, and unsurprisingly, Laura Philipp picking up awards, but it looks a bit of a clean sweep for her team. They've got a photographer who won an award having taken a picture of her and her husband got the coach award as well.
Wow, yeah, clean sweep for them. Impressive. More news from the world of triathlon. Lauren Brandon has decided to call it a day on her career. She says after 20 years of swimming, she didn't think she'd start a new professional career, and she did, and ended up doing 14 years of being a professional triathlete. But now it's time to close that chapter. She says she doesn't know what the next chapter is going to bring, but it'll be something to do with sport.
It's a long time at high level, especially as a swimmer, the amount of hours that you've got to do. I mean, obviously triathlon as well. Well, a very impressive career indeed from Lauren. Well, moving on now to current athletes and the incredibly fast runner that is Morgan Pearson. Now, we talked about how he ran a 1 hour, 1 minute and 8 second half marathon at Valencia a few weeks ago. Well, he's also asking for the viewers' input on what they think he might run for the half marathon at the end of a half Ironman. So
he's doing his debut at Indian Wells, and he said, what time do you think I could do? I'm not sure we've ever had, must be the fastest triathlete ever, 1:01:08 for a half marathon. And he's asking people to predict how fast he'll run at the end of the swim and a 56-mile bike. I'm going to go with significantly slower. Also, the Indian Wells is not the particularly fast run course. So probably, 67 maybe? I think quite a few guesses are around 67. But
yeah, right. I mean, I'm sort of seeing 67 to 69 on the guesses here.
What do you think? What do you think someone who can run a 1:01:08 could run for a half marathon?
I mean, God, it just completely depends, doesn't it, on how he comes off that bike and how much he's had on the TT bike. Who knows? We'll come back to you on that next week.
I mean, you could completely sandbag the swim and the bike and ride like 20 minutes slower than the other pros and then run like a 103 or something.
Depends how good his run sponsors are, doesn't it?
I suppose it does. I don't think that's going to be a strategy though.
No.
Moving on, Whoop has announced that you can track. I mean, Whoop is a lifestyle tracker. You can track everything, right? You can put anything into the app, what you've done for that day, so that you can keep track of what's happened in your life. Now, you can track your recreational drug use.
Yeah, now this one was a little shocking. I first of all thought it was some sort of April Fool's or something bizarre, but
a bit of a way from April at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, once I checked the diary and realised that was not going on, I must admit I kind of flicked through this slightly baffled. That I mean, where are you putting your data? Are you happy to admit this drug taking if that is what you do? Do you want to put it onto an app?
Yeah. But the suggestions are you can track your ketamine, your LSD, and your psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms. And make sure that you've got all that recorded for in the 2-3 weeks after you've taken LSD, what it's affected in your lifestyle.
You've got to be honest, I must admit, like, I do record my alcohol intake, and one glass of wine I don't necessarily say what size that glass of wine is. It's like, don't know who's going to be looking at my data down the road.
What is a large glass of wine anyway? Okay, on with your Tri news. And this past weekend in Hawaii was the Ultraman World Champs, which maybe should have been called the Ultra Mom World Champs, because 2 mothers came first and second, which is actually a record. In fact, Jen Annette and Michelle Vesterby were first and second, which is the first time that's ever happened that the women have won overall and 2 women have been first and second. It is very impressive. So if you don't know what Ultraman is, 10 kilometre swim and then a 145 kilometre bike on day 1. On day 2, just a straight 275 kilometre bike, which they actually start in Kona, they then circumnavigate the entire island of Hawaii, the big island of Hawaii. And then the final day starts in Hawaii, which is the normal turnaround for the Ironman World Champs. And you run all the way along the Queen K, double marathon, 84 kilometres on day 3. The winner was Jen Annette, second place, Michelle Vesterby, two female pros and mothers who have come first and second there.
I mean, impressive stuff. Also, of course, records. So Annette finished in 23 hours, 4 minutes, 56 seconds. And I think it's one of the closer races that we've seen for a while. So actually, Michelle Vesterby was leading for the majority of it. But at the start of the final day, which, as James said, is a double marathon, she had a lead of 11 minutes, which even in a marathon isn't very much, as you know. Sadly, she did lose that lead by about 2/3 of the way through. But still, great to see
impressive
such strong competition.
In fact, they were both overall winners at their qualifying events for this Ultraman Arizona and Ultraman Canada, respectively. And they won overall at both of those. We should also mention the men's winner.
That was Juan Bautista Castilla Arroyo, but he was 3rd overall.
Moving on, and the UCI has called for bans or controls on carbon monoxide use.
Well, last week, the UCI sent out a message to cycling leaders to ask cyclists to stop inhaling carbon monoxide, which when I first saw this sounded a little bit crazy. I was like, what exactly is going on here? Now, carbon monoxide is not really a drug. It is a gas. It's odourless. It's colourless, but it is used as a sort of mechanism to help measure the amount of hemoglobin in a human's body.
Yeah, you don't have to go sucking on the exhaust tailpipe of a bus. But to measure your hemoglobin, what they do is they put some carbon monoxide in a container or whatever, you rebreathe it, and it gets absorbed. It binds to the hemoglobin in your blood, and then you rebreathe it for a certain amount of time. They then know how much you've breathed, and then they can take oxygen exhalation measurements or blood measurements and see how much carbon monoxide is in your blood to know what your total hemoglobin mass is. Now, the cyclists have cottoned onto this and gone, well, if it binds to the hemoglobin, you're essentially creating this situation where your body is hypoxic, much the same as you would if you were at altitude, because your body just can't get oxygen to the working muscles and everything else, which would trigger your blood to produce, or your body to produce more EPO, which would trigger an increase in your total hemoglobin mass, improving your red blood cells and improving your ability to perform in ultra-endurance events. But it's pretty dangerous sucking on carbon monoxide.
Yeah, I mean, this is the extent that cyclists will go to, won't it? As a result, the UCI have said that they are asking teams and riders not to use repeated carbon monoxide inhalation. Only the medical use of a single inhalation of carbon monoxide in a controlled medical environment could be acceptable. The UCI is also officially requesting that WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, to take a position on the use of this method by athletes. I mean, that's going to be hard to measure and police, isn't it?
I mean, it did come out in last year's Tour de France that a number of teams were using carbon monoxide to boost their riders' performance or boost their adaptation to altitude training, but they are adamant that this can be very, very dangerous. In fact, over a certain concentration, carbon monoxide is lethal. So they really do want people to stop this. They are obviously going to have to bring in some kind of control to make that happen.
Yeah, pretty scary stuff. Moving from a drug that isn't a drug on to more drug-related chat coming from the Boston Marathon. So the Boston Athletic Association, who organised Boston Marathon, have been giving prize money to their winners since 1986. And sadly, over that period of time, there have been quite a few athletes who have been banned or served doping bans over that and therefore been disqualified and their results annulled. Now, they are saying that they are basically trying to make sure that everyone who has now moved up into a position that would mean they've got prize money, to get that money back to them. So they're first of all trying to retrieve it from those who've been disqualified and then redistributing it amongst those who are owed the prize money. Now, we don't really know what numbers we're looking at here and where they are along that line of being able to get money back from a doper. I imagine would be quite difficult, but I mean, at least they are sort of putting their hands up and saying, you know, they're trying their best on this one and hoping to make it fair for the athletes that do deserve that prize money. Yeah,
it doesn't actually say whether they have to get the money back from the doper before they pass it on, or whether anyone who was qualified for that money will immediately get it, and then they'll behind the scenes.
And you also have to apply. So if you think that you might, you know, you came 10th and there's 9 people that got.
Yeah, they're not proactively going through the results and looking for the dopers. You have to apply. But I guess it's a step in the right direction. Moving on, and it's giveaway time. Yeah, we have a Precision Fuel and Hydration giveaway for you. $100 gift card plus the Precision Fuel and Hydration Top Tube Gel Flask for a lucky 3 viewers. All you have to do is click the link down below this. The competition is open until the 13th of December, and we will announce the winners on the GTN show on the 17th of December. Terms and conditions apply. It is only available to viewers in the UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and the entries close, as I said, on the 13th of December. So click the link down below right now. On to your tech news, and Van Rysel have just released a brand new bike. If you're unsure who Van Rysel were, they're a new bike brand, top-of-the-range bike brand that is owned by Decathlon. And they've actually had a Pro Tour team this year and making a few waves in the cycling industry with their pro-level bikes at reasonable prices. And now they've released the XCR Tri. We've actually seen the UCI version of the XCR already under the team Decathlon AGR Le Mondial in the Tour de France, obviously riding the UCI version in their time trials there. But now they've released a Tri version, and I actually got to ride it out in Kona a few weeks ago. It did debut in Kona under Denis Chevreau, the French athlete there. But I got to ride it and I got to see all the details. Basically, it's like the UCI version of a TT bike, but it's got a bento box, a trash box, between the arms bottle cage mount. It's also got a toolbox where you can store all your spares. So it's everything you need for a triathlon. It also has different aero bars for triathletes that are much more adjustable and much more comfortable, and you can get into your perfect aero bar position on it. I've got a whole video on this coming out in the next few hours, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and you can watch that video if you are interested in this new bike. It's a pretty good looking bike at a very reasonable price. So watch the video and you can get all those details.
Nice little teaser, James. Thank you. Also, in tech news, there is a new bike computer released by Wahoo. It is the Element Ace. Now, this is their biggest bike computer yet, which might seem, oh, we're going the opposite direction, but it's all about having this great screen. So it's got a touchscreen system on it as well as the touch buttons, but it's making it extra clear for navigation. Navigation being one of the key points of this. They've also, within that, actually got voice turn-by-turn navigation, which I think is a really useful aspect. If you're cycling somewhere new or you're on your TT PT bars or something, you're trying to zoom in and then zoom back out of your bike computer, if it can just tell you.
Turn navigation.
Yeah. That, I think that's one of the aspects I really like. It's got a 30+ hour battery life. This one's quite interesting as well. It's got integrated wind sensor. So whilst you're riding along, it can tell you whether you're being boosted by the wind behind you. So basically, if you feel great, it maybe isn't because you're feeling great, it's because the wind is pushing you along.
Oh, that would be disappointing news to get, I think.
But then I think the drag factor one could be quite nice, wouldn't it? When you're looking at your speed and you're going,
awful,
why am I going so slowly?
Okay, aero drag,
So it basically then afterwards you can analyse your ride looking at whether you were drafting, whether you had the wind assistance and things. So there's a few new, interesting things coming with that. It's
absolutely massive though, isn't it? It's really big. I feel like it's going the way of...
I mean, that might be adding to your drag.
Yeah, true. It's going the way of mobile phones. They just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point, people go, well, these are too bloody big now. Let's make them a lot smaller again.
Yeah.
Then you're going to go back the other way with bike computers.
It's coming with a fairly big price tag as well, actually. £549.99, dollars $599.99. So.
Cool. On to your race news and a couple of pretty big races in the 70.3 world this past weekend. Starting with 70.3 Western Australia, which was the penultimate race in the Ironman Pro Series, the only one after this, the 70.3 World Champs in 2 weeks' time. Marta Sanchez took the win there ahead of Anna Bergstein in second and Lottie Wilms in third in a very tight race. All five. The first 5 women were within 3 minutes of each other. It was a really close race.
Great.
On the men's side, Gregory Barnaby took the win there ahead of Jamie Riddle with Mark Dubrick in third.
Yeah, well, Marta Sanchez will no doubt be delighted with her win because that does give her a qualification through to the World Championships, which are in Marbella in Spain next year, which happens to be her hometown. So a little bit closer to home than Western Australia for that next race. So yeah, congrats to her. She actually is only ranked 23rd on the Pro Series at the moment, but that no doubt will help her move in the right direction. Talking of the Ironman Pro Series, obviously we have the sort of finale with the 70.3 Worlds coming up in 2 weeks' time, and the standings at the moment on the women's side are looking very good for Kat Matthews. She's currently sitting in second behind Jackie Herring. However, Kat has actually still got one more race to count. So as long as she doesn't have a DNF, basically, she is going to leap to the top and take the big prize purse for that.
Yeah, exactly, the 200,000. A few other movements in that ranking with this race. Lottie Wilms jumped up 2 places. Danielle Lewis falling down 1. Daniela Blemau jumped up 1 place. Hannah Berry jumped up 1 place. And Els Visser jumped up 2 places. And obviously, earlier in the season, that didn't really make much difference. But now there's a lot of money for 1 or 2 places moving. On the men's side, Gregory Barnaby was one of those 3 athletes that could jump ahead of Patrick Lange that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, and Patrick Lange decided not to do another race. He was on the top of the standings, and he's not anymore. Gregory Barnaby just jumped ahead of him, which means Patrick Lange has just lost $70,000 by not doing this race. I mean, he kind of knew this was coming. In fact, Gregory Barnaby is not the only one who can jump ahead of him. Gregory Barnaby may stay on the top of those rankings all the way to the end, but more than likely than not, Matthew Marquardt will actually jump ahead of him because much like Kat Matthews, he's also got a race in hand, and he only needs to score 2,042 points to get above him, which means he'd have to finish, I think, within 15 minutes or 16 minutes of the winner at 70.3 World Champs, which should be very doable for him. In fact, there's a pretty good chance he'd win the whole thing. He's definitely in the driver's seat as far as the Pro Series goes. Kirsten Hugenhaug also only needs 152 points to get ahead of Patrick Lange. He has counted all 5 races, but a couple of his races were like 2,100 points, and with 3,000 points for the win, and then obviously going down per second, he could almost certainly improve a couple of his, or one of his 70.3s with only 2,100 points at the 70.3 World Championships. He'll also jump ahead of Patrick Lange there.
I wonder if Patrick Lange will be watching the race, and if he is, that sort of feeling of, normally you're egging on your fellow competitors, but he might be watching that with a slightly sort of different feeling,
mightily, like, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe he's doing exactly what he said, and he's actually on holiday and he's not watching any triathlon.
Well, I don't have that money in my bank. It's not my money yet.
Send me the check when you decide how much the check is.
Yeah, as long as there's something coming in the post before Christmas.
Exactly.
Sounds good. We also had 70.3 Bahrain, and that was dominated by the power couple new into this distance. Georgia Taylor-Brown took the win with an incredible run of 1 hour 14:28. It was still a tight race. Tanja Neubert from Germany was second and Caroline Pohl third, so strong performance for the Germans.
Tanja Neubert is also her debut 70.3,
Yeah.
both of them, and within a few seconds of each other. Also coming from the World Triathlon short course side of things, she's actually ranked 13th, I think, in the World Triathlon rankings. So no slouch, but both of them doing the 70.3 debut. Vincent Louis, not quite his debut. He's done a couple of 70.3s. He actually won this one last year, and he won it again, but he has now officially retired from World Triathlon distances, from an Olympic distance, and is moving up to the middle distance. So does that mean hot shot for next year for the T100 series contract, or is he just going to maybe get a wild card or two and then see whether he gets a contract? I mean, they should definitely give him a contract, surely.
Yeah.
Anyway, he took the win ahead of Matthias Margera in second, with Willem Hirsch in third. And Matthias Margera, obviously, no slouch. He was seventh in the T100 ranking. So for Vincent Louis to beat him means he's in pretty good form for that 70.3 distance. I think he's going to be a force to
We
be
can
reckoned
only
with.
expect him to get faster the more time he spends on that TT bike as well.
Yeah, exactly. Coming up this weekend, as we said earlier, 70.3 Indian Wells, and then the following weekend, as we said, 70.3 World Championships, the last big race of the year, and a few Pro Series changes probably going to happen there, but even if it's not absolutely stacked fields. But we'll do a full preview next week when we go through all the names and maybe give you our odds or who we think might actually win, pick our podium.
All right, it's now time for Tri Spy. Last week, I think, were too kind to you with this lovely picture of some pristine gnashers, which,
had a cheesy grin.
Had a few of you guessing wrong, but not really many of you.
No.
Obviously, as we see the bigger picture, it was Lucy Charles Barkley. We did have Citan83 suggesting it was Taylor Knibb, but you were wrong, although a huge amount of people were right. We had Arlene Quinter saying Lucy Charles Barkley, Mark Phillip, LCB, Martin Haase, and
a whole lot more. We definitely made it too easy. So this week we're going to make it significantly more difficult. James is back in control
with this one.
Exactly. We definitely have to make it more difficult. So this week we have this one. Who is that?
Good luck.
Say what? Okay, time to take a look at some of the comments under our videos from the past week, and we picked out a couple from our Triathletes wish list, trying to help you find the right gift for your significant other triathlete person in your life for Christmas. Holistic Health Education said, I obviously know the wrong people. No one has ever given me a bicycle. And Highway Star GR also said, what happened to the good old, here's a new Canyon Speedmax for you because I love you? Said no one ever.
Yeah. Now, we didn't actually suggest that was on your list. It was just maybe like if someone was very generous, you might get a bike. But we had more affordable items.
More suggesting that maybe triathletes tend to buy themselves Christmas presents and use the fact that it's Christmas to excuse spending an absolute fortune on a brand new bike.
Yeah, but if you do get one for Christmas, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you have any other suggestions for what you might actually buy if you can't afford the bike, in the comments down below. I'm sure the rest of our viewers would really appreciate you giving them a tip in the right direction, maybe something we missed on our video. Also, on Mark's sub 4 minute mile, which you can go and watch right now if you want to. Mark attempted to go under 4 minutes for the mile. Obviously, Mark, not being the elite athlete he used to be once upon a time, can't actually run a 4 minute mile on the track, so he went down a big hill.
A very big hill.
Yeah.
So we had this comment here from Bike and Dog Trips Virtual Cycling saying, how many times did you check your shoelaces weren't going to come loose before starting that run? Yeah, you would not want to, you'd go
I
a
have
cropper,
to say, when
wouldn't you?
Mark said he was going to do this, I was like, more worried about his chin than I was about his feet, because when you get it wrong running down a hill, it's 10% at that speed. It's going to go really, really, really wrong. Anyway, he managed to hold it together. Yeah, you can go over and watch that video right now if you're looking for something to watch. Coming up on the channel later this week, we have the brand new Van Rysel XCR video coming out tomorrow, so watch our channel for that. And also, Mark did another crazy challenge on the back of his previous crazy challenge.
What have you been up to recently, James?
Yeah, no, I was definitely not signing up for this one. Absolutely no way. They don't pay me enough to do this. Mark went to the Valencia Marathon and did it the whole marathon in Crocs. Yeah.
Madness.
That video is coming out later this week, so subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. See you again next week.